Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really fun unboxing video to share with you guys. I didn't realize this had actually come in. But this is the type of thing that I really like, and I know that not everybody's into this type of knife, but it's something I really like. So I know that there's going to be a bunch of you who like it as well. So thank you so much to Miguron for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. I have to assume that this is available. So I'll link it right down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Okay, let's see what we got. This is a heavy package. Not going to be a typical Miguron. I probably did something different for the thumbnail, because a lot of times, truthfully, to be honest with you guys, when I see these blue boxes anymore, I'm like, yeah, I really hope it's not just like a variation of something I've already seen before. But this should be a version 2. This is a version 2 of a knife that I already really like. So this, yeah, awesome. This is the Arma, but it's the version 2. Oh boy, yeah. So let's make sure here. The box actually has, well, it should, yeah, that's right. I was going to say. Miguron Arma 2. So I have the original Arma right here, so we can actually look over it and see what's different. What I loved about the original Arma is that this is what we'd classify as an overbuilt knife, in the sense that the materials are just really, really thick. Like the blade is a 1/4 inch thick, and the scales are probably at least 1/5 of an inch thick. A lot of people ask why. It's just for fun, right? This is still a very capable and well-made knife, but everything is overly thick on purpose, just because there's a section of the knife community that just likes intentionally, unnecessarily robust elements. It's been that way for over a decade, at least, and the Arma is that type of knife, except that you're not having to pay an absolutely absurd amount of money. It's still a lot of money. It's still an expensive knife, but compared to what you generally pay for an overbuilt knife that is utilizing contoured and textured titanium and properly heat-treated M390, this is way, way less, right? I think last time I talked about these, people were like, you can get a cold steel for half the price. Yeah, but it's not titanium, right? And a lot of the cold steel stuff is not approaching the same blade stock thickness. You're not really comparing apples to apples, and I think some people are kind of missing the point of what I'm saying. Very specifically, overbuilt titanium frame lock knives with ultra premium materials. Those specifically, even when made in China, which these absolutely are, usually come in substantially more expensive. The Arma, to my knowledge, is the least expensive that checks all of those boxes on the market. So the original Arma had flat scales with some diagonal texturing. Super, super nice, right? It's definitely like an incredibly nice knife. And another element of this knife that I thought was better, I have a full comprehensive review of this. I'm not reviewing this right now. I'm just unboxing it. But I have a full comprehensive review of this. Something that the Arma does that overbuilt knives normally don't do is actually flip well and manipulate super well. For a long time, we had Medford knives, which were made in the United States. And there are some Medford knives that I like, but they're super clunky. They don't have the same type of, ease of manipulation that a lot of us have come to expect, right? And they're wildly expensive because he makes them all in-house in the United States, which, by the way, is still an incredibly expensive process. It's not the same for every company, because not every company is doing exactly the same thing. Yeah, that's still a horrifically expensive process. But it prices a lot of people out, definitely. Not everybody, it prices a lot of people out. So, ultimately, big roundabout way of saying, there is a market for this stuff for certain people. This new one is contoured and diamond textured. Now, I talked with them I DM'd them about this. I said, you got to do this dark gray thing that you do. I don't know if they've actually PVD coated the titanium, or if this is, that's what it looks like. This looks like a Cerakote or PVD on the titanium, and I really like it. The contrast here, the texturing is perfect. Miguron has always done amazing texturing. Oh, they did the pocket clip too. That's really nice. And the contouring, absolutely. It takes the already really great ergos of the first Miguron and just makes them substantially better. So a lot of you watching this already own version 1 of the Miguron. I'm sure you're wondering, is it worth buying version 2 for just these subtle changes? Probably not. But if you were on the fence about this one, just not 100% sure, and you haven't bought it yet, I would say this one's the clear winner for sure. I don't think there's any reason to own both, but if you were kind of holding out to see if they do something different, they definitely did. They kept the satin finish the same, and I've been saying, like, I really wish you guys would do something, add a coating to the blade or do like a tumbled finish, and they said, well, we don't want to coat the blade because that brings the Rockwell range down, and we feel really good about our range, so they're aware of that. But I think it would be really cool if they did like a higher polished finish, or if they did like a nice like like a high polished tumbling or something like that. Their satin finish is definitely good though. Everything else about this feels the same as the first run, right? It still has the excellent flipping action, like really excellent. It's definitely still fall shut, mainly because the blade is so thick. And you can also still access that big, long, open area right here and do the reverse flick. Something that I maintained from my review of this is, yes, this is a super heavy, overbuilt knife, which, by the way, we'll kind of do some stuff while I'm talking here. It's definitely, like, if you're looking for a practical EDC knife, there are tons of, it weighs, oh, that's milliliters. Why does it change that on me every now and then? 8.5 ounces, which should be the same as the first one, unless they've changed the internal milling. 8.7. Okay, so it's weighs slightly less. But yeah, it's still a super heavy knife. You can definitely, you don't need this. A lot of people, I think, assume that, oh, it's thicker material, so it's more durable. I see. Yes, this is a longer lasting product. No. It's just really thick. Like, that's literally it. It's just like, haha, thick, right? It's funny. It's kind of stupid. It's just funny. That's all it is. But, the downside to stuff like this is obviously it makes it difficult to carry and use, right? Yes, the edge is thick, but is it still sharp? Absolutely. It's plenty capable. It's still sharp. It's just going to slow you down a lot more if you're breaking down a cardboard box or something like this versus, say, an Openo. For people who are like, I don't care, I want to carry it because it's cool, I get that. I do that all the time. I carry stuff like the Cold Steel 8010 in titanium. Not because I need to, but because I like to. It's totally overkill, right? For people who are like me and they want to do that, I'm sure that you've been down that road where you're like, I want to, and I've carried those overbuilt knives, and it's fun for a while, but that it's like, wow, like it really is just a gigantic hulk of a thing. This is probably the most carryable overbuilt knife because of how compact it gets closed up. I'm not going to say it's lightweight, but it is pretty darn compact. It's also super friendly on the hand. That's a huge problem with, like, I would say specifically Medford knives. Like, I've owned the Praetorian T, the Praetorian Tie. I've handled all the different. That is the most uncomfortable. That thing is so uncomfortable. It sucks. These are super comfortable, right? Really, really a lot of attention put into like the chamfered edges and stuff. Deployment's really comfortable, really easy, right? So you're not going to gain any specific advantage day to day by carrying a knife like this, right? It still has the same weaknesses of any titanium frame lock. I don't think making the titanium thicker or the blade thicker is going to allow this knife to perform in a way that is superhuman compared to a standard frame lock. I think it's literally going to give out at the pivot if you stress it in the wrong zones. No, at the same rate that like any other titanium frame lock would. So if you're new, don't buy these types of knives thinking that they are somehow like magical, invulnerable tools. Now, frame locks, generally speaking, are plenty strong if you use them like a knife and not like a tool that they are not. But it is fun to carry this stuff, and if you're going to do it, you're going to save the most money with the Arma, and it's also going to be the easiest to carry of knives that are legitimately in the same category. I love the improvements. I would call this more of a 1.5 than a 2, but the contouring, that's a big deal. That's definitely going to make the knife cost more. I'm not making excuses for them to bump the price. Everybody should know by now, the machines required to contour titanium are ridiculously expensive. So that is definitely a more expensive process all the way around. So this will, I wouldn't be surprised if this is more expensive. If it's not more expensive, then bravo to them. But I would venture to guess this is more expensive. In any case, I don't know that this needs a full review, because it's literally the same thing but contoured, and pretty much anything that I would say in the review I just said. So there you go. Cool knife if you're into overbuilt stuff. Very, very cool. If not, obviously you can ignore this one. Thank you again to Miguron for sending these in. Or actually, they sent me both. Yeah. So please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.